Chapter 57. Sharp eyes survey the landscape in front of him, sensing the energy of every life form on the planet. The owner of said eyes had spent months searching, but he believed his journey was nearing its end. His finely tuned senses were screaming at him that what he was looking for was nearby. Nearby, and getting closer. Cronoa, I think I've found the disturbance, Trunks says out loud. Good job, Trunks. He hears, stay in contact, please. We don't know what you're up against. He nods, knowing that Cronoa can see him, before finally calling out. Why don't you just show yourself? He asks. I know you're there. All that can be heard is the wind, and the soft patter of steps as though from a great distance. Trunks reaches up, gripping the handle of his sword, lifting it slightly from its scabbard on his back. There is a crackle, as though high-voltage power lines are breaking, as the world seems to split right in front of him. He jumps back, nearly blinded by the bright, impossible colors, as a frost demon exits this break in reality. It snaps shut behind him as he fully exits, disappearing as though it never existed. Interesting, I never expected to see you here, Trunks, the frost demon says, studying the man in front of him. I wonder which version you are. Trunks' eyes narrow as the creature greets him by name, despite the unfamiliarity between them. Who are you? And why are you messing with time? Ah. Xeno Trunks, the time patroller. This is turning out to be a very interesting turn of events, the frost demon says. Perhaps you may even be an interesting distraction. Be careful, Trunks. Cronoa says. His readings are all over the dash. The connection is filled with static as the frost demon seems to touch the air around him. His body shifts slightly before settling back down. Trunks nearly disappears, rushing in as he yanks his sword from the scabbard. He reappears as his sword crashes into the forearm of the creature, the ground around them crumbling to dust for miles. The creature whips around, his tail just barely dodged by Trunks as he pushes backward. His aura turns blindingly gold as he ascends, pushing back into attack once more. This time the frost demon seems to take it slightly more seriously as he jumps back to dodge the follow-up sword slash. Trunks tries to press the seeming advantage, but as he pushes in once more, the frost demon smiles, grabbing the blade on its downward swing, twisting as its hand fills with light. No, Trunks yells, as with a twist the demon shatters the sword. With a spin its tail slaps across Trunks' face, smashing him into the ground. As he bounces away, he lands in a heap and pushes himself up, only to feel the dexterous foot of the frost demon press down on his back, forcing him back to the ground. I guess not, it says as it aims its hand right at his face, the center seeming to burn with energy. There is a loud beep, and Trunks fades away, the frost demon nearly stumbling from its sudden lack of footrest. Teach, it says, before glancing aside. Fucking time patrollers. With a slash of its finger, the world shatters in front of it, the world splitting apart. A tunnel of color and code stretches out into infinity in front of it, which it slowly walks into before it snaps shut behind it, leaving no trace that it was ever there. Time Nest. The scroll before them flutters, as the bright purple glow seems to shudder before Trunks materializes on the floor beside the table. Trunks. Cronoa yells, rushing to his side. Are you okay? Shit, yeah, I'm fine, Trunks says as he climbs to his feet. Do we know who that was? No idea from me, kid. A new voice says from across the wide table. I've never encountered him before. Goku? Trunks exclaims. You're back from your mission? Just in time, it seems, Goku says, glancing at the still glowing scroll. Cronoa was explaining the situation. It's worse than even we knew, Trunks, Cronoa says, grabbing their attention. Whoever this guy is, he's doing much worse than changing time. Worse? Trunks asks. What could be worse than changing the flow of time? Planet Earth, age 767. LLL, ladies and gentlemen. A loud voice announces. This is Jimmy Firecracker, broadcasting to you live at the CCC Cell Games. Today we've got quite the spectacle for you to see, he yells, pointing into the ring. Mr. Satan, World Martial Arts World Champion of the World Martial Arts 24th World Tournament, will be facing down the devilish, demonic, dastardly Cell. The camera swings around, showing the ring at last. The white marble is gleaming in the bright sunlight, as the monstrous form of Cell is visible at last. Off to the side stands a group of fighters. A short one-armed man with tall black hair, a tall fit man with purple hair, and a young child with glowing golden hair. Time Nest. Where's Goku? Trunks asks, looking around. What happened to this timeline? He died, we think, Trunks, Cronoa says sadly. Trying to save Tien and Piccolo from Cell. Which timeline is this one? He asks. 818, Xenogoku answers. This is the one that split after Vegeta messes with time. He's mixing the timelines as well. Trunks, Cronoa says, pointing at two scrolls, one of which he had just left. A thin line of purple connects the two, little motes of energy flashing between them. Is this the only one? Trunks asks, looking at the other scrolls. So far. Planet Namek. I snap awake, something teasing me at the edge of my senses. I open them wide, drawing it all in, trying to track down whatever it was that awoke me. There, I think, feeling the softest touch of energy. Somewhere, far, far away, a battle had just taken place. The energy they had thrown around was massive, nearly as much as when I fought Majin Buu in my second life. I thought for a moment, trying to figure out what that meant. As far as I knew, there was no one in the entire universe that had that kind of power just yet. KLL, a loud voice snaps me from my reverie. I jumped from the cot I had been sleeping on and moved towards the door. I jump back just barely in time as it's thrown open, only my ability to sense energy warning me ahead of time. Kakarot pauses, seeing me just inches from the door he had just slammed open, before grabbing me by the arm and yanking me into the dimension between time and space with a loud pop. We reappear a dozen miles away, a small crowd of Namekians crowded around a crater that was slowly filling with water. As we land, I immediately see what had drawn so much attention, and my eyes meet with Kakarot's. More of your strangeness, Scions? I hear from beside me. Looking over, I see Nail, who looks twice as fierce this morning than ever before. No, Nail, I don't think this one is connected to me, I reply, before looking back. Two of the Namekians float to the top of the crater, before setting down their burden on the hard ground. His hair is matted, burned, and soaked through with seawater and blood. His orange GI is destroyed, charred away, as is a significant portion of his skin. Yet, no matter how much is gone, burned away, it's clear as day that this body belongs to Goku. Kakarot studies the body before turning and lifting off into the air. I let him go, considering the situation, before shaking my head. As much as I'd like to pretend I understand what the fuck is happening, I know that I can't wrap my head around this. Maybe the legendary story perk? Either way, it didn't seem I would be getting answers here staring at a waterlogged body. 3 days later, Kakarot had been distant, but had seemingly gained new motivation for training. Where before I wasn't sure when he slept, I was now almost certain that he didn't sleep at all. Seeing his own dead body had pushed him to a new level, it seemed. As I dodged a blast of his energy, I couldn't help but marvel at his growth. I could tell already that whatever was going on with this new life, it would be a never-ending set of challenges just to stay alive. Thankfully, I had a strong ally by my side. I pushed more energy into my body, making me faster and stronger to push him further. How? He yelled, sensing my energy increase even further. I pushed a bit more into my system as I smirked, disappearing and reappearing at his side with a snap kick to his chest, launching him back. He growled, rubbing the spot where I had hit before rushing back at me. His fist slammed into my crossed arms, pushing me back as his already high power level started growing at a steady pace. I pushed more energy, keeping my power level above his as we continued to battle it out. Come now, Kakarot, I yelled after popping away with instant transmission. Sure you don't want to end up like that dead body? You need to keep pushing. With that, I pushed to my new max for the first time in months. With an explosion of energy, my power level jumped to over 16 m, the energy smacking Kakarot back. With a roar, he started to push back, forcing his way through my energy, trying to reach me. As soon as he got close, I moved, instantly in his guard. The palm of my hand slammed into his chin, knocking his head back, as my elbow came forward and slammed into his chest. His energy skyrocketed in response, doubling, tripling, as he did his best to fight back against the onslaught. Not good enough, I yelled, filling my hands with energy. KLL beam. As I released the energy, I snapped out of it. I tried to pull the energy up and away, but it was already too late. I had released enough energy to kill him 10 times over. Kakarot, I yelled as the attack washed him away. Bloodlust over. It was like a feeling of rage and power I didn't even know I was feeling simply vanished, and with it most of my energy. I fell to my knees, filled with guilt, knowing I'd just killed a close friend. Fuck, I whispered. KLL? My head snaps up, locking eyes with something I hadn't expected at all. Blue eyes stare back at me, lit up with a burning golden light. His outfit, donated by the Namkians, was singed, but it seems his energy had protected it from most of my attack. What is this? He asks, looking down at me. This is what I told you about, I say, climbing to my feet. This is the power within every Scion. His power level was only 23 m, but he had finally increased his strength to be higher than my own. That this was his first transformation only told me that with more practice, his power would go up in leaps and bounds. What was going through your mind? I ask as I float up to him. You were out of control. I could see it, but I don't think you even noticed it. I was worried that you were about to go into the rages you described, Kakarot explained. I realized that at my current level, I would be unable to do anything but flee. That I was weak. I hated myself for that weakness. I was unable to save Vegeta or Indivaya. The thought that I would be unable to save you disgusted me. Amazing, I answer back. You're really something else, Kakarot. Thank you, Kakarot says, before with a snap his aura is gone, his hair black once more. He drops from the sky, but I manage to grab his arm before he falls too far. I lifted him up, holding onto him before with a pop. We were gone. Planet Namek. A small circular room is filled nearly to overflowing with Namekians. They all stand silently, waiting for the main focus of this meeting to arrive. Thankfully, the wait was short, as a tall Namekian swiftly entered through the dipping doorway. The crowd squeezes together, making way for him till he's in the center of the room. He studies the occupants before he finally begins speaking. My brothers, I need your help. 3 weeks later, with Kakarot's ascension, our training sessions truly took a turn for the better. My ability to control myself was slowly slipping, but so far, each time I began to slip up, Kakarot was able to calm me down by stopping my onslaught with his higher power level. With this, even though only 3 weeks had passed, we had both gained significant power. Where before my max was 16M, I had managed to push to 23M, matching Kakarot's original Super Saiyan transformation. Kakarot, however, with the constant use and stress of the form, had managed to push to 35M. We were sparring, throwing around ridiculous amounts of energy when I paused after blocking a rather deadly kick. Kakarot, wait, I say, looking around us. What is a KLL? He asks, studying the area around us as well. I don't sense anything. I don't know. Something doesn't feel right. I explain. We should get back to Planet Namek, I think. He nodded, and with 2 separate pops, we were gone. Planet Namek. As soon as we appear, I can feel the sense of wrongness in the air. The feeling is almost familiar, but I can't seem to place it. Kakarot stumbles, looking around wildly. KLLs? He asks, trying to pinpoint the disturbance. Grab my mom, and take her to our training ground, Kakarot, I order swiftly. Then get back here. What? WH dash. He starts, but I snap over him. Go now. He nods, popping away, rushing to take my mom to safety. I wanted to explain, but I really didn't have the words for it. That I myself was as confused as he was didn't help the situation. With a resolute nod, I mentally tapped yes. Legendary story event. A nail in the coffin. Success. 180 XP. Except, I felt it as soon as it happened. A tightness in my chest, an extra thrum in my heartbeat. There was an explosion of energy, a rapid upwelling of power, as some distant being became something more. I pooled my own energy, filling my body with it, concentrating it as best I could in preparation for a threat that even now I couldn't wrap my head around. How could he fall so far? I thought, as I felt the energy shift, and began heading in my direction. A pop of displacing air beside me and Kakarot had returned. His hair was sticking up as the very air of the planet was charged with energy. With a push, he ascended into Super Saiyan, feeling the threat moving towards us. What is it? He asks, over the roaring wind. I almost answered, but it had already arrived. Combat has started. Enemies. Nail, LVL 14. Nail's power had skyrocketed in the past few minutes, till it was even higher than Kakarot's was. It was still increasing. Nail, tell me you didn't do it, I say, watching him closely. His body thrummed with energy, his veins pulsing along his skin. He seems to shake as another surge in his power courses through his body. Did what KLL? Kakarot asks. He absorbed other Namekians. I reply, watching Nail's reaction. His eyes, unfocused previously, sharpened to stare daggers at me. You, who seems to know all of our secrets, the Elder doesn't see what a threat you are. Nail says. But now I have the power to end this threat. Yes, my brothers gave their lives for this. Anything to protect our people. With an explosion of energy, he was at my throat, hand wrapped tightly around it, smashing me into the ground. I slam a fist into his side, but it barely phases him. Kakarot appears beside us, his kick knocking Nail off of me for the time being. I jump to my feet, feeling my power surge around me when Kakarot grabs my arm roughly. KLL, calm down, he yells, snapping me out of a daze I didn't even know was there. The icon in my vision, my bloodlust meter, was flashing dangerously back at me. That I could seemingly slip into a bloodlust, unable to even tell, was a scary thought. Back me up, but do not let yourself lose control. He orders, before bending nearly backward as Nail's arm slices through the air where his head was moments before. I shoot forward, energy coating my arm as I slice through Nail's arm, green blood spewing everywhere. Even as Nail roars in pain, he yells in anger, another surge to his power sending him back on the offensive. Kakarot manages to get in between us, Nail's fixation on me a helpful distraction. However, Nail's energy continues to increase, while Kakarot can still barely control his transformation. Kakarot blocks the first blow, but the second is too fast to follow, slapping him away like a doll. Kakarot. I yell, but I'm unable to follow as Nail is already on me. His first hit slams into my collarbone. As I barely dodge, the snap of the bone echoing in my ear as my left shoulder goes completely useless. The second hit slams into my solar plexus, knocking the wind out of me, sending me careening through the air. I feel something break as I land, but I force myself to my knees as Kakarot manages to intercept once more. All for my people. Nail screams, practically frothing, as he grabs Kakarot by the hair, slamming him into the ground. I force myself to my feet. Nail, stop. Kakarot is bloody, his nose smashed, his jaw clearly broken. His eyes are pleading, begging me to leave, but we both already know that I can't just leave him behind. Nail looks up at me, eyes glazed over with fiery energy. In slow motion, he points his finger at Kakarot's chest, and a thin beam of energy slicing through, blood spurting out in every direction. Warning! Loss of control imminent. Warning! My lungs were on fire, every breath like I was shooting flames. The blood in my veins acid, burning me, eating through my body. I stumbled, feeling the energy inside of me building up and up and up. Reaf! Kakarot!